Hey guys, welcome to the very first edition of the Warp World Podcast. I'm Jaku, and with me as always is Grand Pooh Bear. In this episode, we are going to talk about the SNES Classic, SGDQ, what it's like going, and what our first experiences were, the Twitch affiliate program, and in our very first hot take segment, we're going to talk about the patch notes Nintendo released with Mario Kart 8. I hope you guys enjoy.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 1 of the Warp World Podcast. I'm your host, David Graham, aka Grand Pooh Bear. Joining me here today and each and every single week is Jaku, Matt Jakubowski. How are you doing here today, Matt?
I'm doing great, Pooh. Thanks so much.
This is the
for
first
asking.
time I've ever called you Matt in my life.
It's a strange thing. Honestly, 15 years I've been Jaku, and still when people call me Matt or Matthew, I'm like, who are you talking about?
That will literally never happen again. That was a one-time occurrence. That shows you how nervous we are here. Anyway, there's a lot to talk about this week. It's a big week in gaming. We got GDQ coming up. The Twitch affiliate program happened, but we got to start off with like the big kind of announcement in gaming this week, and that was the SNES Classic 2. I mean, I don't think it was necessarily a surprise to many people. I think in some ways it was kind of a disappointment to some because they wanted the NES Classic. I mean, I think the NES Classic is just a collector's item at this point, but I'm a bit interested to see. It's $80. It's got 21 games, but there is one very notable game on there.
Star Fox 2.
Yes, Star Fox 2.
Who would have thought that almost after 25 years, we would be seeing the release of an SNES game by Nintendo?
I'm really amazed. I mean, it's been Star Fox 2 in from what I understand, it's like a 90% complete ROM has been out there on the internet for a long time. You can buy reproduction carts of it, but this is a 100% finished version of Star Fox 2, which is never been released anywhere at all. Nobody thought this was going to happen. They have no real reason to do this. It's very strange and interesting and also awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it came out of nowhere. It surprised a lot of people. I think it stole the show of the SNES Classic being released. I never anticipated Star Fox 2 being out. Like, we heard of it. We've seen it. We've seen the ROM, the 90%, 98%, wherever it's at. But no one thought, hey, you know what? Here's the 100% game, and who thought Nintendo would give it to us?
Yeah, it's I can't think of another situation like this from any game company where they're just all of a sudden release an unreleased game. And it's just strange because I mean I don't really understand the story of why Star Fox 2 never got released in the first place, which is interesting. Another thing that should be noted is that it's going to be kind of the only way to play this game on console because it has the Super FX chip. Star Fox is very classic, very classically brought the Super FX chip to the fold. And for those who don't know, all you youngins out there who don't know, this was a big deal in 1994. It gave kind of quote unquote 3D graphics. Star Fox used it. I know Stunt Graphics or Stunt Racer FX or something used it.
Yep. And even Super Mario World 2 used it, but used it for slightly different reasons.
Yeah, definitely. And but it's been something that's hard to emulate on things like EverDrives or the ST or SD to NES, SD card cartridges. There's really not been a good way to play Star Fox 2 on a console ever before, and this is going to be kind of all our first console experience with Star Fox 2 in a lot of ways.
Yeah, one of the things that I know about the FX chip is, so there's actually an FX chip and an FX2 chip, one slightly faster. Nobody knows what frequency or what speed the FX2 chip ran on for Star Fox 2. We can only guesstimate, and so emulators would always be like, oh, we're just go to the max speed that we could for that chip. So it'd be interesting to see that if maybe it had a different chip that was under, work, or if Nintendo's gonna bump up the frequency to make it run a little bit faster and in turn run that game a little bit smoother. Back in the day we were fine with 14 frames, 20 frames a second, but if you're going to release a console and you're going to be like, here's HDMI, you're going to want 60 frames at a very minimum 30 frames. So it's going to be really interesting to see if they run it at native speed or if they do a little bit of tweaking to make that game run a little bit better.
Yeah, I think the other thing we should definitely mention about Star Fox 2 is there's a strong possibility it's just a really bad game. Like it's just not a good game.
That's true. So I don't believe that's going to be the case, just because they've taken a lot of things from Star Fox 2 with like the all range mode and the little mecha walker.
Wait, they have all range mode in Star Fox 2?
Yes, a lot of the features in Star Fox 64 were
I didn't
originally in
know
Star
that.
Fox 2.
No,
Exactly.
I had no idea about that. Okay, that's actually really cool.
Yeah, so that originally was in Star Fox 2, and the really cool thing about Star Fox 2, similar enough to Star Fox 64, is that the game changes as you beat it more often. It unlocks different areas and it unlocks different routes, as far as I remember, and so the game is different each time you play it.
Oh wow, that sounds okay. Well, now I'm back in. That's actually really interesting. But it looks like Star Fox 1. It's still at the end of the day.
Slightly, yeah. Exactly. At the end of the day, it's still going to look similar to Star Fox 1, but I think, a lot of improvements over Star Fox 1, a lot of things that we would have been blown away by in 1995, 96. But, this day, seeing it finally released is going to be a really awesome thing. My only concern is, hopefully we can get one of those systems.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the general joke on the internet is right now is like, well, I can't wait to pay 3 times for much on eBay, which... I mean, I get that reaction because the NES Classic had that. I have to think Nintendo has possibly learned their lesson on how popular this classic HDMI quote-unquote console emulator will be.
From what I know, Nintendo does make that claim that they're going to be significantly more of these than the NES Classic. But I think by having that Star Fox 2 in there, it's going to increase the hype even more than you could expect.
Significantly more demand, yeah. It could be that way, yeah.
So they might double production, but they might have tripled to quadrupled the demand. We're now in September, and I know I got my $80, pocketed away for that.
Yeah, I'm definitely. I've been checking my favorite in stock website for the pre-order. Right. If for nothing else, I own an NES Classic, I'll never play it because it runs. For those who don't know, the NES Classic is actually an emulator. It's not a real, necessarily real console, and it runs at 59.94 frames a second, I believe, or maybe it's 9.3. I can't even remember. But for someone who plays these classic games, I'm speedrunning Mario 3 daily. That's running at 60 frames all the time. It's super awkward and weird. So I don't use the NES Classic that much. I have an EverDrive. I play most of my games on that if it's a game I don't own the real cartridge to. But it's still a great collector's item. The SNES Classic, I'm hoping it has a little bit better emulation. What do you think about the game list, though, outside of... We obviously talked about Star Fox 2. What other games stand out? What games did you want? What games are you why is that in there?
Yeah, real quick, I just want to touch on that emulation on the NES Classic. What's really interesting to me and a few of other speedrunners is that the NES emulator on the Classic is actually pretty bad at emulating most things. That the things like the wrong warp in Super Mario Bros. 3 does not work on it.
Yeah.
So they couldn't even get that right. But going on to the game list, I'm actually really impressed with this game list. There's 21 games in total, including Star Fox 2. But it's got all the classics that you would typically want. There's definitely a few that I'm like, oh, I wish they had it. But Mega Man X, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, F-Zero, Final Fantasy 3, Earthbound, Contra 3.
Earthbound is a big one too. Some else should be mentioned. Earthbound, if you want to play that on console, is a $400 game. So that. You're getting a console experience with Earthbound. I think that's another big one.
I know Final Fantasy 2 is one of the games that a lot of people wanted and is one of those more expensive games. Mm-hmm. So they're not getting that, which is, sad, but it's fine. Super Mario RPG, I remember renting that game as a kid from Blockbuster. That was a big store back then. It doesn't exist anymore. But I rented that from Blockbuster, and I kept it for 2 weeks because I didn't beat it. Until then, and it was the largest game I had played, at least largest Mario game, where it was like, holy crap, this is not ending.
I think Mario RPG was a good jumping point into RPGs for a lot of people. Our age that were growing up.
I mean, I remember playing Final Fantasy 2 and 3 and being like,
Hmm.
this is really a lot of words, a lot of like I wasn't in
Yeah,
love with the characters. I didn't understand it. And it wasn't until playing Mario RPG that I'm like, maybe I should give those RPGs another shot. So yeah, definitely.
yeah. What are some games that were missing that you wanted?
Um, so one of the games that I would definitely have liked to have seen was SimCity.
Yes.
It's what was really interesting about that game with my childhood. I actually ended up buying it 3 times in my lifetime for Super Nintendo. Um, when I was 9 or 10 years old, I went to buy a Super Nintendo game for my birthday. I remember I got the day off school and we went to Best Buy, and I had the choice between Super Bomberman or SimCity. And I don't know why 9-year-old me or 10-year-old me decided to go with SimCity. Like, of all the games for a 10-year-old to decide, one where you blow stuff up and one where you build things. I don't know, but I bought SimCity and I don't regret it one bit.
Yeah, SimCity was man. That was SimCity for SNES specifically was just a really great version of it. It's like perfectly simple,
Hmm.
but still, the complexity of SimCity.
Yep.
That is a game I really wish, and that game would have worked out really good in this format because even if the emulation's bad, who gives a crap at SimCity? You don't need like
Yep.
any frame perfect moves. You're not missing any jumps or anything. I was a little bit bummed I didn't see Chrono Trigger on there. Actually, I
Yeah.
think Chrono Trigger is like the pinnacle of Super Nintendo RPGs. They had Secret of Mana on there. They had Final Fantasy 3. Um,
Hmm.
really would have liked to see Chrono Trigger.
Yeah. I don't know why they didn't go with that. My only thought is that it's been re-released on a few other platforms multiple times.
Mhm.
So like you can get on your iPhone. So like I guess maybe they're like, let's go with a game that's not so accessible. But I don't know. Maybe they couldn't get the rights. Who knows?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
definitely. But yeah, it's a good list. Super Metroid, Super Punch Out,
yeah,
Yoshi's Island, which is, I mean, we should talk about one thing. I mean, I just want to say, like, Yoshi's Island is one of the prettiest video games of all time, still to this day.
absolutely.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
looks
say what
like
you want about the game or the gameplay. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful.
yeah.
Watch it. Yeah.
I definitely remember playing that as a kid and not being very good at it, but definitely liking how it looked and was amazed at what it was capable of.
Yeah. But yeah, I think overall, I think the SNES Classic looks good. I mean, I think the ultimate question is, will they have enough? If they do, then great. If they don't, then they're gonna people are gonna at least tweet about it. They'll at least complain about
Yeah,
it on the internet. So
yeah, definitely gonna see some people complaining. I don't think I what's really the other thing with me is like I totally want to get the Japanese and the European one, just because I
oh, the
like
Famicom's so prettier.
it looks so much better and like
Yeah.
I'm yeah it's gonna be interesting. I hope more people are gonna be able to get these than the NES Classic, and I hope Nintendo rethinks their position and re-releases the NES Classic. Maybe we're seeing an NES Classic 2 where it comes with a different set of games. Who knows? Maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves, but I'm just glad that it did. I'm just glad that they're coming out with a second version with the Super Nintendo, and they have some great games, and they're releasing Star Fox 2, and that's a huge deal, and I think that's gonna make a lot of people excited.
Yeah, I'm definitely pumped about that, and it has me pumped. It has me thinking about like, well, what could they release for 64 Classic? You know what I mean? What
Yeah,
could they do for that? Like, I mean, I think that's where my mind naturally leads. You know,
the only thought process in my head is Metroid 64 or Mother 3, the
Mother
original Mother
3, yeah,
3.
Mother 3. Yeah. Well, anyway, moving on.
Yeah,
Let's talk about the other kind of big news at least in our gaming world.
yeah.
The Twitch this week launched the affiliate sub button. For those who don't know, the Twitch affiliate program is basically like I kind of joked about it, like, and I don't want anyone to take offense to this, but I call it like the minor league. Like it's
I
like playing farm ball. Yeah, it's like
yeah.
trying. It's like the step below partnership now,
I call
which
everyone
is
Partner Junior,
partner.
and I don't
Yeah, I
mean
mean,
that. Yeah,
whatever. It's kind of and these are kind of jokes, but
yeah.
in all reality, this is actually a really good, decent program. I think
Yep.
you've seen things like on YouTube. On YouTube, you can literally monetize as soon as you're getting like 5,000 views, whatever, something really small in YouTube standard numbers. But Twitch has kind of kept people locked out of their their bits system, which is kind of like their internet hooker money, or like their donation money, and they've
Exactly.
also kept everybody out of their subscriber system. You had to apply and become a partner, and then you got all sorts of benefits. One of them was people had the ability to subscribe to you either via $5, more recently $10 to $25, or via Twitch Prime, which is free if you have an Amazon Prime account. It's been really, really good for partners. I think every partner really enjoys having a sub button. This week they opened up the floodgates and basically said, "Hey, do you regularly stream on Twitch at all? You get a sub
There you
button."
go. Yeah.
Yep.
And
you go.
I mean, I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think one of the things a lot of people forget about is that Twitch is a free service. You don't have to pay. You don't have to sub. You don't have to do bits. But at the end of the day, it's costing someone money. And if you are able to give some money to us, a viewer or to a streamer that you support, a broadcaster that you support, and Twitch gets a little bit of a cut of that, it's only going to do good things for the platform. It's only going to let Twitch grow and allow more people to do this and get better at it and, come out with more great features. It's been really kind of crazy to me at how many new features Twitch has been releasing in the last year and a half to almost 2 years. It had stalled at one point. Like, if you would have said 2 years ago to me that Twitch was going to be like having all these new features, I'd be like, no, they've been like the same thing. It's video and chat, and they're not doing much. But they've been really kind of changing the game and trying new things, and I think this is a good thing. I understand there's a little bit of hate out there from some people. Apparently, I haven't actually seen anyone personally. But all I see are posts about people complaining about current partners complaining about affiliates. But that's all I see. I don't actually see the partners complaining.
I think here's the thing. I think the one thing we have to remember about the internet, or more specifically even Twitch, is that anytime literally anything changes on Twitch, there is a subset of people that are going to complain about it, no matter what it is. Like, Twitch could literally just be like, hey, now we have better bandwidth, or now we have a better compression system and can deliver you video better. Somebody out there would be like, oh fuck, why did I buy this? Yeah. Someone would be like, oh fuck, why did I buy this good internet then? Thanks, Twitch.
Yeah.
There's literally, no matter what happens on that particular platform and service, people are going to complain. I have seen a few wish I had this when I was trying to get partnered. I have seen a few of these from some guys.
I definitely think every partner has probably said, oh man, if I could just get that sub button now, it would really show that I could become partner.
I think and everyone believes in their content. I think there's also I want to talk about maybe even the other side to this, because I do agree with you. I think it's generally a good thing. I think we're both, and we should preface this by saying we're both Twitch partners. You and me are both Twitch partners. In fact, I'm a full-time streamer and YouTube creator. So Twitch, what is good for Twitch is generally good for me. So I should preface that, and my opinion might not be the most unbiased thing here.
Right.
But
I still have a full-time job outside of Twitch. I am Twitch partnered. But I still agree with Grand Pooh Bear on all this. It's a good thing. They're doing good things for everyone.
Yeah, it is. And it does seem like I think Twitch has a goal of getting people to, they want as many people sucking off their teat in some shape, form, or fashion on the streamer side, because it's going to only bring more viewers in on the viewer side. And I think the other thing is, Twitch also understands that once you sub to one guy, you're a lot more likely to sub to a second guy. Once you spend $5, spending another $5 doesn't feel so bad, and before you know it, you're subbed to 30 people and spending $120 a month. And I know plenty of people that's happened to. I'm one of those people.
No, I mean, you were the first person I subbed to, and since then I'm subbed to 13, 14 other people, and I had been on Twitch. My account is old as hell on Twitch, and I had never subbed to anybody because I didn't care. But once you get connected with a certain streamer and you get that personality, you're like, yeah, I can throw $5 at this person. And then once you do it to one person, you're like, that's not so bad. I can do it to another and another and another. It's really, it's great that you can do that. And I think it helps a whole lot more than people realize.
It is. And at the end of the day, I think it's a smart thing for Twitch. I've seen a ton of guys getting a ton of bits out there, getting paid out there with the affiliates. Now I do want to talk about some things on the other side of this, though. Actually, Some things that with all, just because a change is overly positive doesn't necessarily mean everything about it is positive. There are going to be some things that you're losing. I think one thing that you're going to kind of lose is that big like celebration day of like kind of like becoming partnered. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not going to mean nearly as much to people anymore. And not that that's like should matter or anything, but it does. I tell you right now, for everybody who got that email, it's a big deal when you get it. And that first day of having your sub button is generally a pretty good day for you. It's kind of a little different when 60,000 other people got it at the same time.
Exactly. I agree with that. I know when when 60,000 people have it, you're like, oh, another guy, and you go to every stream and everyone has it, and so it loses a little bit of its charm on that first day. But your own community is still there to support you. By no means should it should you feel like, oh, that sucks. It's still a great feeling. And like what do you think is going to happen for affiliates that go from affiliate to partner? And do you think it's going to be as large of a celebration there as well, or do you think it's going to be a little?
No, I don't think it's going to have the same je ne sais quoi as it used to. Definitely not. I also think before we move on to that though, I want to talk about one other thing. I think for a lot of people, it's also going to be a really sobering experience. I think some people, as excited as some people are now, they might be disappointed in 6 months when they may have a what do I want to say? People might be more apt to give up on their dream once they have actual reality facts of, oh, this many people would subscribe to me, you know what I mean? Because when you're coming up and you're growing, like I always kind of thought like every viewer that I had would subscribe to me. All 15 of my viewers that I had for 2 years would subscribe to me, you know what I mean? That wouldn't have been the case if that actually, if this affiliate program would have been around. And I might have been a bit more discouraged and felt different about my broadcast if that was my main goal, if that was it. I think it's weird. It's gonna attract more people who want to do this as a job, but the turnover rate on people kind of giving up might be higher now.
I see what you're going with.
Yeah,
and I think one of the things one of the nice benefits of this is that if you are an up and coming streamer that is affiliated and you are getting sub after sub after sub, then that's a great sign. You probably do have the potential to be partner and go further than that. And that's great. It makes the road to partner a lot easier. It's a lot
easier.
It makes it a lot easier to be like, yes, there is. I can do this. You don't, because before,
maybe not even easier, but clearer. It makes it
right,
clear.
Exactly. A lot more clear. Let's kind of explain the process of getting partner before though, because not everyone's going to know how that process goes. But like, let's talk about your experience first. You were a huge streamer. To me, whenever I would watch you during Mario Maker, you were pulling 100 to 300 viewers each stream, and I know you submitted a few times before the end of the year, and you got declined a few times, but then So tell everybody kind of the experience there, like, because in my mind you should have been partnered. In your mind, I think you felt like it was ready, but what was the reality?
Yeah. I mean, I think so yeah, my experience was I had already been streaming for 2 years on Twitch, and I never really caught on with any of the games I played. Like I had a nice steady audience of like 10 to 20 people no matter what I did. And like a lot of guys, and there's a lot of guys out there and just so you know, if you're one of those guys out there doing it, it could hit for you any day. Once Mario Maker came out, I started playing the hard Panga levels, and all of a sudden like it changed. And once I beat P-Break, which at the time was the hardest Mario Maker level ever, the hardest Mario level of all time. Once I beat that, yeah, I know. How easy is it now? Speaking of which, I should mention the first person to ever beat that level is Jaku. So it wasn't me. I wasn't the first person to beat it. Jaku was the first person to beat it.
I just wasn't a streamer.
Yeah, I used it to gain my internet fame, and I was pulling about 300 viewers consistently after that. All the way up until I got partnered, and finally I applied like 3 times, got turned down, and I was pulling 300 viewers, and I was like, man, what do I got to do? Finally, I started, I was getting to about 500-600 viewers playing this level called Val's Airspace, which ended up taking me 100 hours. This is back in the day, back when Mario Maker first came out, and this is a bad story, but this is a long run-on story, but the moral of the story is that finally I got partnership, and it just like it felt such relief. And like that first day, I got maybe like 150 subs. This is before Twitch Prime, and it felt like I was like making it. You know, I felt like, yeah. I think it's gonna be different now. I think if I had affiliate at that time, I probably would have already had those 150 subs though.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and I think that's kind of one of the things that this is going to allow is that you know, you getting beaten P-Break, you would have probably seen a huge surge in subscribers, and you know, you could have shown Twitch right then and there, like you had the community there, you had a reason to get partnered, and like you were showing them the cash essentially.
I think. Yeah, I mean it's good. That's like exactly what you're saying. You're gonna be able to show Twitch the money. You know, like
as much as, you know, people like to say that they're not in this for the money and stuff, like, you know, Twitch is still a business at the end of the day, and you might not be in it for the money, but they definitely are. I mean, it's just going to make it so much clearer for any affiliate to know how to get to partner, because instead of sending out an email and getting rejected time after time, you should have a much better indicator of when you feel it's right.
Yeah, it's and beyond that, it's easier for Twitch to know, like they're easier to read. I think Twitch has probably made some what do I want to say, partner choices they regret even. You know what I mean? Like they thought guys were bigger, or maybe they were just flash in the pan. Now they'll be able to point directly at numbers to say yes or no, and I mean really the only difference between a partner and and an affiliate at this point though is like ad money, I think. Like I'm pretty sure that's it, and ad money's nothing, so
yeah, there's not really a huge benefit on ad money.
It's a cool program. I'm impressed that Twitch is doing it. They didn't have to. It's a cool program. They're gonna make a lot of money off of it. They're gonna do well. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, good for everybody. I mean, I think we live in a cool world where we're talking about a bunch of people being able to even make a little money by playing video games on the internet to strangers. Like, it's a pretty cool fucking world, you know?
Yeah. I don't think, 20 years ago when I was playing SimCity on Super Nintendo that I thought I could be able to do something like this. And here we are.
Oh, what a world. What a world. Well, speaking of Twitch.
And playing video games.
And playing video games. Yes, the most important part of Twitch, by the way. Everyone should remember that. The most important part of Twitch is to have fun playing video games.
Absolutely. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.
The biggest thing coming up next week on Twitch, or this week as you're hearing this, is Summer Games Done Quick. It's going on right now. For those who don't know, Summer Games Done Quick is a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day marathon of speedrun video games. For those who don't know what a everyone knows what a speedrun. If you're listening to this, you know what a speedrun is because you
know
probably watch Poo and Jaku.
If you know what the word speed and run are, you know what a speedrun is.
Yeah, this is episode 1. If you're listening to this, it's probably because you know me or Jaku already.
Yeah. So just for those that don't know, it's when two racers take a Game Boy and they try to complete a game at the same time, running down the track as fast as possible while still completing the game.
Yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. We should do that. We should do that.
Yeah. All the money donated for Summer Games Done Quick is going to Doctors Without Borders.
Let's get those doctors those borders, Pooh.
Yeah, get those doctors those borders. It's overall, this is going to be my 4th GDQ. My
Same
4th
here.
GDQ I'm actually getting to run in. Yeah, it's also your 4th GDQ going. I should say my run is on this Friday, the 7th, in the Super Mario 2D relay race. I'll be running the Mario 3 portion of that relay. You guys should all watch that.
Yeah. I think it's around 4 p.m. Central, but that can change.
I think so.
That can change due to schedule. So just definitely look it up.
Check the schedule. GamesDoneQuick.com. Check the schedule. It's really great. There's a ton of great games. But you know that already. You probably already understand that. We're going to talk a little bit. We will talk about the game list a little bit, but we want to talk a little bit more about the experience of Games Done Quick, because I think there's I don't think people really understand what is really happening at Games Done Quick when you're watching on the stream and you see this empty stream room behind the runner. You're like, well, where is everybody? I know there's people there. Where is everybody?
They all left. Why aren't they watching this game? What are they doing?
Yeah.
It's an experience. It's crazy.
Yeah, tell me about like your first thought when you walked into Games Done Quick.
I mean, it's insane. So like obviously I had watched Games Done Quick multiple times on Twitch, and I was familiar with the whole room of people watching people play games. But what I didn't realize was that they had so many different rooms for you to go do, and there were so many awesome people to just find, meet, and hang out with. So like, I was expecting to go to this place and be like, oh, I'm just gonna watch video games for 8 hours a day and then go back to my hotel room or something, But it was the exact opposite. Like, I would maybe go to the game room to watch a run or two a day, and more or less I would hang out with awesome people. We'd find we'd find the practice room. We'd watch other runners practicing and learn strats. One of the coolest things is like you can watch someone practice a game. I think it was SGDQ. Oh, no, I think it was HGDQ the first time I went. We saw the Mexican runner practicing for Battletoads, and he was practicing
Blindfolded Battletoads.
Yeah, blindfolded. And I'm like, holy crap, he's just like, he's doing it. And it was the most amazing thing I saw because like I had never, number one, that game's hard with your eyes. Yeah. And here he is doing it blindfolded. Yeah. And then like, a few hours later he went up on stage and attempted it, and it was glorious. But I think honestly my favorite event was Punch Out, the blind race, or like the atmosphere in that room was just
not the blind. And we should say blind race, like they were blindfolded, they couldn't see the game.
Right. Yeah, they had played the game I think once or twice before, so they weren't completely blind, but they were blindfolded, and it's Mike Tyson Punch Out.
Sinister and Zallard, Sinister and Zallard,
two great speedrunners. Punch Out runners. It was just amazing to be in that room, and I don't think that was captured on the stream at all, how it felt to be in that room, because you go in and it's dead silent. You hear two guys on the controllers just making some noise, but everybody else is there.
Click.
Yeah, they're just holding their, like, everyone else is holding their breath, like they want to cheer so bad, but they know they have to keep it in till the end. And it was just an amazing experience, and you couldn't capture that without going. There'd be no way.
I completely agree with that. I don't think Games Done Quick does a good job. I mean, and how could you? But it's like any other sport. Yeah, it's like any other event. It is like for the ones that everybody is really excited about, and that is a standout moment for me too. The blindfolded Punch Out race. That's one of the most favorite races I've ever seen. But I like to think like this past AGDQ, the Mario 1 in Lost Levels race with Darbian and Cosmic, that had a lot of hype behind it.
Yep.
The Sunshine race between Panga, Bouncy Boy, that was really exciting. The crowd, I think those were like really, I don't know, they were tension-filled moments. The crowd got into it, and it's hard to necessarily see how many people are in there all the time when the runs are actually going on. But B, like the excitement of the crowd, because the crowd really does get into it.
They really
for
do
these games,
And I gotta say, the microphones and the microphones on stage are really good at not picking up any of that noise. It takes a lot for the crowd to get rowdy enough for the microphones to pick up, and so you don't hear 90% of it. But like the crowd is so invested in a lot of these runs, and especially the races, especially games that almost everyone knows, like Mario 1, Mario Lost Levels. Like everyone knows those games. You can watch that and you can see two guys and you know where each person is. Sunshine was very similar as well, but even that can be a little confusing for people. But regardless, when someone would mess up, the crowd would just like, they would feel the pain for the runner, and everyone in that room felt it. And there was nobody like, one of the biggest things I think we should mention is like nobody seems to be like there's fanboys of certain runners and stuff, but like at the end of the day, you're not like, it's not lions versus bears, you're just you're like excited to be there for anyone there. And like if one player messes up, you feel bad for them, and you want them to get back up there. You don't want them to feel bad. And like maybe you like Darby and more, but if someone else if someone else messes up, you're like, hey, come on, get back in there, you can do it. It's insane.
Yeah, you're cheering for the gaming almost. And I know that sounds lame to say, but yeah, that's definitely how it is in the stream room. I think it's just an overall positive experience. Now let's talk about more. You mentioned the practice room.
Yeah.
This is where if you guys are at Games Done Quick right now listening to this, that's where I'm at in the practice room right now.
88% of the time.
Yeah. The practice room. So there's those who don't know. There's this main stream room that you see, and that's the only room you ever see on the actual stream, and that's where people are playing games for their stream. But there's a ton of other rooms. There's 2 practice rooms, a public one and a private one. So if you want quiet and privacy, there's a 24-hour open arcade. There's a 24-hour series of pinball machines around. There's tons and tons, a litany of tournament rooms for things like speedruns, the Smash Brothers, other fighting games.
There's a board game room. There's just
board game room.
There's a hangout room. I think they might have a TV on there showing the stream, but otherwise it's just like couches and chairs.
Yeah, you can watch the stream in any room, and it's going on 24 hours a day. There's a good amount of partying from some from a groups of people if you're into that. You can. It's definitely a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week event, and all these things are going on for 24 hours. And I mean, like, I'd have to say the real action's in the practice room, right?
Oh, for sure. I think there's so much going on there that you can't be bored in that room. There's races by other runners that aren't even competing. There's a lot of spectators that go to GDQ, and they're learning stuff there. They're getting excited. They're trying wrong warps for the first time. I think your first GDQ, you were taught how to do Yoshi Island wrong warp and Mario 3 wrong warp.
Yeah, I learned. My whole goal at my first GDQ was I wanted to learn. I learned 3 wrong warps in one day. That was my goal. Like, I just wanted to be taught 3 wrong warps, and it's cool because you can just ask anyone, and 99% of the time that person will sit down and just help you with your game if you're interested in that.
And like the 1% that they won't is if they're practicing for their run that they got to go up to in 20 minutes. Yeah,
I think like my favorite thing in the practice room is Darbian playing versus Mario.
Oh yeah.
Darby. So yeah, and this is you can mark this down at any given point in time during the day. There's about a 90% chance Darby will be in the practice room playing Dots Are Cool versus Mario ROM hack. It's like so it gives you a 4-player versus Mario, and that's like the not the old. It's like the old Mario game, like the original arcade game, but it's the Super Mario All Stars version.
Yeah.
And Dots Are Cool modded it so you can play 4 players. And Darbian literally just sits there all day taking on all comers and trash talking them, the likes of which you think is reserved for hardcore NBA players. Like it's insane how like he beats you and then makes you feel bad about it, and it's amazing and awesome, and it's something that needs to be documented.
Yeah, and then you feel good about yourself at the end of the day, though, because again, like it's not. There's no negativity. It's just
it's funny. Yeah, it's funny trash talk. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I should really emphasize it's hilarious trash talk. You know,
like you still somehow end up smiling after he just kills you so bad. It's an experience. If you haven't been to a GDQ, you definitely got to see this. Like, there should be a video about this.
Yeah, I mean, in Games Done Quick, it's I don't know, it's a really fun thing to go to. I mean, I strongly suggest it. Also, another thing we should mention: if there's a runner or a streamer you do want to meet at Games Done Quick, it's probably the most low-key convention type thing. Like, it's definitely not a convention. I think that's what a lot of people think of. It's like a convention. Mm-hmm. There's nobody selling anything there. Yeah. There's nobody like pushing you to do anything. There's no walls or barriers between you and anyone else. It's literally just playing video games. Like, it's literally just a week of everybody playing video games. That's what it's all about. That's all anyone does. We literally get together, hang out with our friends, have a few beers, and we play video games all damn week. Like, that's what it is, you know. So don't you might be disappointed if you come in expecting something different, because it's video games. Like, that's what we do.
You know what it feels like now that we're kind of talking a bit more about it? It's like summer break when you were in school. Like, yeah, because you're free. You don't have to do anything. You just got to play video games and hang out with your friends. And no other, like, I've been going to security conferences for 15 years, and I like they get a little boring because like yeah, I'm still hanging out with a lot of my friends, but I'm kind of there for work in a way, and there's so much to do, but it's more like a learning experience, and like I'm not necessarily free even though I'm away from home. I'm still kind of working, but this is kind of like it's just video games, guys. And like for runners there's definitely you got some work. You gotta practice a bit. I know Pooh, like hardcore practicer, like again, he will be in that room like 90% of the time. But some people do just go once or twice a day in the practice room and they're good. But once your run's over, it's time to celebrate and relax even more. And it really does kind of just like feel like hanging out with your friends. And I guess I should mention like our first GDQ, me and you went together. We met at the airport for the first time ever, and you know, everyone we met there, like we became real good friends with everyone real quick with whoever we met, and it was very accepting of anything there.
Yeah, it's a really good positive vibe. I would say, of course, in every community there's shitheads, but I would say the speedrunning community has some of the least amount of shitheads around. It's pretty awesome, and you're gonna find somebody that's if you're into video games or playing them fast, you're gonna find someone else who's into your game, and it's just a cool, nice place to hang out. You got any runs for this SGDQ that you are particularly excited about?
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely got to check out this Mario Relay Race. Watching those.
I mean,
games.
hey, I don't want to pump my own relay race, but we should talk about it. It is a really cool relay race. It's the first time ever that this is gonna happen, as far as I know.
At least on this scale, like for sure.
Yeah, definitely at a GDQ, and it's Mario 1, 2, 3 Lost Levels, Super Mario World, 3 teams, 5 players on each team, 1 player per game. And I mean we have I mean like if you're counting other games, we've got like I think it was like 19 world records, 20 world records between people just in individual games, and every world record holder for the game being played is in the race. So it's a pretty big deal. Like you're not it's really hard to get these people together to race. So that's going to be a pretty big one.
It's definitely going to be one of the big
a couple ones I was looking at. There's the Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 and 4. I kind of really want to see that a lot, which is kind of I just like Tony Hawk. You know?
I mean, Tony Hawk was a great game. What's interesting about it is thinking about Tony Hawk. It's like, is there really a way to speed run that other than just like do the tracks really fast and get a lot of points? But I'm sure we're going to see a lot of tricks. I think we're going to see a lot more tricks than that, though.
Yeah. I think that's going to be pretty crazy. VVVVV.
Yep.
That's being ran. That's super hard. I'm always really into hard games. Shadow of the Colossus is being ran. That's actually a really quick run, too, he's doing. But I think one that I want to kind of talk about here is, Final Fantasy VII. 8 hours.
Yeah, 8 hours. No slots, any percent. So no slots. Materia, I'm assuming, makes the most sense. 8 hours. So like that's one of the things. You do speed runs of games that you can beat in under an hour. And like if I was like, I just can't think of how you would even approach a game that could take 8 hours. Like, do you ever reset? Do you 7 hours in? You're like, damn it, I gotta reset now. Like what goes through those people's heads at the lengths of like 8 hours? And there's some that are even longer than that. But 8 hours is a long time to be playing a video game and doing it quick.
It's super long. I wonder how they're gonna handle, like, is he gonna have a bathroom break in the middle of his run? I wonder, because like I have to imagine Final Fantasy VII has some cutscenes.
You definitely has cutscenes. Yeah.
I have to imagine he has a specific cutscene where he goes to use the bathroom during his normal runs. However, at GDQ, a bathroom could be pretty far away from where we're running. Yeah, this could be difficult for him to do, and because 8 hours is a long time. I don't know if he can just sit there. I'm also going to be really like that run is. I'm going to be really amazed at how the couch does. I think the couch is going to be really important for that run.
Yep.
For those who don't know, the couch, when we say the couch in speedrunning, the couch is what we call the commentators, because typically they sit on a couch because speedrunning. Yeah. And it's going to be interesting, and I'm stoked. I'm honestly stoked that it's happening, if for no other reason that it's like it. Final Fantasy VII is one of the greatest games of all time. Who cares if it's an 8-hour speedrun? It's a goddamn speedrun of one of the best video games of all time.
Yeah,
Put it in. Let's watch it. Let's do it.
I mean, you make a lot of points about the bathroom and stuff, and I'm just wondering, like, with 8 hours, I feel like you could sit there. I've taken long flights, not to go too crazy, but I've taken flights to Japan and stuff, and I've never got out of my seat. I don't know how I can do it, but I can. So like, it's not impossible, but it's definitely Final Fantasy VII. It's gonna be crazy. 8 hours for a speed run, like you're like 8 hours. That's not a speed run, but when it's a game that massive, absolutely is it fast. It's all relative at that point though.
Yeah.
One of the other long games, it's the final game is Earthbound. It's almost
Earthbound, yeah,
almost 5 hours, any percent glitchless, which is a great game. 5 hours, shy of 8 by 3, but still super exciting. And again, one of those long games where it's like, what goes through their heads when they mess up a small thing, or like when they're practicing? Because obviously, typically at GDQs, you don't do resets unless maybe on the first 20 seconds.
Yeah, then you have to you got to make up a real good excuse though. You got to be like, "Oh, this NES is broken."
Yeah, kind of like the Mexican runner, if I remember correctly. He's like, "Is this on a European NES?" Turns out it was.
Yeah, he did it for the battle.
Yeah,
yeah, which it was on a European NES, which was hilarious.
And like, I don't think anyone was picking up on that in the audience or anything, but like, to him and to a speedrunner, that's a huge difference. So that made sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think 5 hours though. I couldn't imagine doing something that's gonna rely on so many things to like hope that it gets done that quickly, I guess.
Yeah, and there's actually a decent amount of decently long games, but I mean, I think this, more than anything, this SGDQ lineup has a lot of hitters. You got new games like Nier, Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild is a bonus game, but it will get in.
Oh yeah.
You got some like even classics like Diddy Kong, Metroid Prime. I'm just looking at the first day. Castlevania Symphony of the Night. This is all on the first day. Okamai HD. Those are really good games. Halo. They got a good chunk of Mega Man games. Yep. They got a ton of Zelda. They have literally the entire 2D Mario set being run at one time. Yeah. They got Mario 64 on Saturday. They got Tetris. I mean, they got everything pretty much that. I mean, if you're like the quote unquote casual speedrun fan, or even kind of a hardcore speedrun fan, I think you're gonna find something that you really like. Dark Souls 3 is in here. I think you're gonna find something that you really like this SGDQ.
One of the games that I'm seeing on this is Titanfall 2. That's not a relatively old game. That's rather new in terms of these type of games. How do you think people prepare for new games when speedrunning and submitting to GDQs? Because like there's a lot of stuff that's not discovered, and you're just gonna be like, yeah, I can beat this in 2 hours, and sure, you probably can, but like, there has to be like some sort of thought in the process, like, this is gonna be really cool because it's new, but also, how can I make it better? I guess.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that. I think you see that sometimes. I mean, I think the likelihood of someone going way under their estimate is more likely to happen than someone going way over their estimate. I know even for like my Dram World run, I discovered, like we basically cut off like 4 minutes of just pure time on that game, like on just like strats.
Yeah.
In between submission and the actual run happening, and I have to think with the newer games, it's way more likely to happen. I know Breath of the Wild was submitted at like 1:15, right? 1 hour and 15 minutes, and that guy is not going to go over 50 minutes, right? Like there's no way he's going over 50 minutes,
right? That's actually a perfect game.
Figured out.
Yeah.
A perfect example of that.
Exactly.
Yeah, a perfect example of that. That game was only out a week when submissions happened,
And like, yeah, it was just like watching the world records on that game was kind of insane. Like, you knew what day it was because, hey, there was a new world record. It's like, oh, hey, I guess a day has passed. You could set your clock by it. And at the end, I don't know what it's at now, but it's sub 40 minutes, I believe. Yeah. Which is just mind blowing.
I think it's 39. Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
It is pretty crazy. Yeah. Overall, watch games done quick. I think last thing we want to wrap it up here. Let's get a hot take on this.
Hot take. So Mario Kart 8 on the Switch, Deluxe. We should say Deluxe because that's how you know.
The Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Yeah,
yes.
Nintendo did something that, nobody thought Nintendo would ever do due to their past, way of doing things. A new update came out on Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and along with it came patch notes. For those that don't know what patch notes are, it's just a quick collection of what was changed in this update. What improvements, what things were removed, what were added, and things like that. And typically Nintendo doesn't do those. They might say bug fixes, or the typical response a lot of people see is further improvements to overall system stability and other minor adjustments have been made to enhance the user experience. That's Nintendo's go-to.
That can mean anything.
Absolutely anything.
Literally anything. We've seen it change massive amounts of things in Smash, Mario Maker, all sorts of games before. That can mean anything.
Yeah.
But go on.
Yeah. So this update actually, they actually released a huge list of updates for Deluxe, which, was great. I think it really shows that Nintendo's kind of making changes to how they do things.
Yeah, I think it's making strides. I think that's the hot take. Like the hot take right here. Is Nintendo making small steps to being what do I want to say? More open company, a more transparent company, a more gamer friendly company?
Right. And I
think so.
Yeah, I think so. With something like this, I think, they're showing, hey, we understand that people are passionate about our games, and we understand that before we were like, yeah, we fixed things to make it better for you. But there was a lot of people out there that were like, what did you fix though? And what was cool about that, and like, that was neat because you could then be like, oh crap, I got to go find what they changed. And you could spend, 35 minutes to an hour running around the game being like, oh, hey, this is different. This is different. And that was fun to discover. But you always had that like feeling like they're not communicating because they're just like, yeah, patch notes, we don't care. But this is different. This is them being like, hey, we understand that you do care about this sort of thing, and we're going to try to make a difference. And maybe it's just this one time. Maybe not, though. I'm hoping,
Maybe it was an accident,
right. I was thinking maybe Nintendo accidentally, swapped their internal notes with their external notes on this one. And so, like, the internal note memo went around saying, hey, Mario Kart Deluxe, we got bug fixes. And everyone at Nintendo's now scratching their heads like, wait, what? Yeah, we won't know for sure until we start seeing more games come out with more patches. The Nintendo Switch, in a way, has been kind of updating us a little bit with their patch notes as well. I don't think they've been as detailed as Mario Kart's, but it might be a sign of the times changing. And I think that's a great thing, and I think Nintendo's really showing that they have learned from some of the errors that were ways with this new generation of console, and I think it's absolutely great.
Yeah, I have to agree. I don't think they're, we can't expect them to take a full giant leap into being like a transparent company.
Right.
Of some sort, or a company that's completely friendly to gamers, but it does seem like they're understanding a bit more about how people play their games, which I think is something that they were desperately not understanding before. What I mean? I think they were not desperately not, but drastically not understanding. I think they, you've even seen it with like Splatoon. They're really kind of trying to push that as an esport. They're re-releasing Pokken Tournament because Pokken, regardless, I think it's kind of a joke to most casual people, but it's actually got a decent little scene in the fighting game community. I think that them releasing it on Switch is definitely a nod to that, you know, in the biggest way. I think ARMS is another game. Like, I think they want to see ARMS in Evo.
Yeah.
ARMS which would be awesome and hilarious for a lot of different reasons. But I think they're definitely, I don't want to say they're there yet by any means. Their YouTube policies are still horrible. And their online, we don't know what their online system is going to look like. They've given us
a little bit more details, but nothing big.
Yeah. But it does seem like they're starting to get it more, and which is another reason why, again, I have a bit more faith, not to hark back, but I have a bit more faith in the SNES Classic not being completely, just, a miss on supply,
Yeah. Yeah, I think they have learned. I think they they maybe they were underestimating the gamers before in what they needed to do, but I think as time went on and they saw what happened with the Wii U, I think they're recovering from that and they're making the right decisions, and it definitely shows that they're at least trying. It's definitely not another version of this whole like here's a Nintendo Wii U.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with Nintendo here towards their future. In this generation. I was gonna say we talked about it last week on our episode 0 podcast, but you guys will never hear that. So, moving on.
That's a lost episode.
Yeah,
but I think that's gonna be it.
the lost episode.
Yeah.
That lost episode. Maybe one day.
One day.
One day it'll pop up like Nixon tapes or something. Yeah. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that'll do it for episode 1
of the Warp World Podcast.
Jaku, where can we find you at?
You can find me on twitch.tv/Jaku and twitter.com/Jaku.
Yeah, and you can find me at twitch.tv/Grand Pooh Bear, Twitter Grand Pooh Bear, also YouTube for Jaku and Grand Pooh Bear, both of those things.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you guys for listening to episode 1. I don't even know what you got to do to listen to episode 2. You got to hit some sort of button. I'm sure someone will tell me that after this goes up, but hit some sort of button to follow this podcast, the Warp World Podcast.
And hopefully we'll see you guys at SGDQ.
Yeah, we'll see you guys at SGDQ and next week. Have a good one.
That's going to be it for this episode of the Warp World Podcast, guys. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. Tune in next week where we actually record the episode live at SGDQ. We're also going to record a new segment that we call Ask the Broadcasters. If you email us at podcast@warp.world, we will try to answer some of those questions that you send us on our next episode. Thanks for listening.